Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with Pacific Nut Producer Magazine, and today at the 45th Annual Almond Conference at the Sacramento Convention Center, I had the opportunity to meet with Mike Mason and Richard Wycott from the Almond Board of California to talk about the current state of the almond industry.
Well, Mike Mason and I, was chairman of the Almond Board, work throughout the year really looking out at what are the major issues of the day and of the future of the almond industry here in California. And so we touched on many of those in our State of the Industry presentation. We started out really with a review of the assessment increase that was instituted last year and what the industry has been able to achieve with that increase. And we've really done quite a bit, even though we didn't get a formal approval of it until about Christmas last year.
There's been a lot of plantings going in, and we have a couple of different studies that we think we can more accurately now than ever in the past predict what within a close proximity of what the crop sizes are. So we have land IQ and satellite imagery now that we can detect an almond tree versus another tree from about second leaf on. And then we also have a nursery survey that gives us a really good handle on the crop size. So we know that we're going to have some increased crop size, and we know with that increased crop size comes additional monies, but you can't just turn on the marketing spigot and have instantaneous results. So over the last few years, we've been in discussions on raising the assessment so that we could promote demand ahead of supply. That got discussed, bantered back around for a couple of years, and finally got voted on a little over a year ago. And so we're going to utilize that money to promote the larger crops that we think we're going to have down the road.
So it's really focused on building demand ahead of supply as larger crop sizes come along. And the current estimates are that between now and the 21-22 crop year, out into the next decade, we'll have about a 30% growth rate over that time, about 6% per year. So that's over 700 million pounds of additional volume that the industry will be producing, which is more than we sell in the U.S. today. So it's a considerable increase, but we have a lot of new market opportunities that we're exploiting with this new funding. 4 new countries we're going into, plus building up our operations in 4 existing markets. So we think that placing this additional volume will be very viable. And we're also using this additional funding for a lot of new research into agricultural and environmental issues that are important to the industry, and sort of working towards that almond orchard of the future that will need to be more efficient and more sustainable. So both of those things have been our priorities.
Right, and in addition to that, we know that like Richard said, the almond orchard of the future, I mean, we really don't know what that looks like right now, but we're willing to invest in certain technologies and certain projects that we know there's certain things out there, for example, dust. Everybody knows that we've got dust during harvest, and we know that we're going to have to work on that down the road. Everybody knows that we need to continue to improve on our water use efficiencies, which we've done that over the last 20 years. It takes 33% less water to grow a pound of almonds than it did 20 years ago. Well, we don't want to wait 20 years for the next big improvement. We want to take that 20 years and condense it down to 7 or 8 years and improve those efficiencies.
So the net of our presentation was great opportunity and growth of the industry coming up, provided we get enough moisture. That's always the big caveat to that.
You mean rain?
Rain and snow. And then also just looking at bringing more value to many things that we do in our orchards that haven't received the same priority over the years as the kernel has, and building that out. So that's sort of where we left off, and I think the industry received all that very well.
Read all about what Richard and Mike had to share in the January issue of Pacific Nut Producer Magazine. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.